This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to continue on from our theme this week, which is Turning Pro. Turning Pro is a book by Mr. Steven Pressfield. It's a sequel to his book, The War of Art, which once again I highly recommend. Any person that feels like they procrastinate or has some sort of, they feel like they've got some sort of calling within them, to be able to do something else, whatever. I really think these books are fantastic. Steve is actually usually a fiction writer. However, for whatever reason, he had a calling, a muse, telling him to do and write this non-fiction stuff, and I think it's fantastic. So either way, we're going to pull another passage out of the book, and then I'm going to pull it apart myself and go from there. And so the book's called Turning Pro: Tap Your Inner Power and Create Your Life's Work. Steven Pressfield. The page is page 53. The heading is The Amateur is Terrified. Fear is the primary color of the amateur's interior world. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of looking foolish, fear of underachieving and fear of overachieving, fear of poverty, fear of loneliness, fear of death. But mostly what we all fear as amateurs is being excluded from the tribe, therefore the gang, the posse, mother and father, family, nation, race, religion. The amateur fears that if he turns pro and lives out his calling, he'll have to live up to who he really is and what he is truly capable of. The amateur is terrified that if the tribe should discover who he really is, he'll be kicked out into the cold to die. Oh, amateur is terrified. So really what we're looking at here is basically fear, the amateur, and feeling terrified. And what I find extremely fascinating about this is his first line where he goes, fear is the primary color of the amateur's interior world. Now, the beauty of that sentence is saying that everything, when it says it's a primary color, as in everything has that filter on it in the interior world, in the person's mind, not in reality, in the interior world, not in reality. Everything is latent with this layer of fear as the primary color, as the filter. Now, the power of that is that no matter what happens, I'm always going to, with that filter, see everything as this place of fear and what potentially could be bad in the future. Because as he goes on to say fear of failure, fear of success, and when it names all the fears, and there's no end to that. The fears never stop, right? Fear of being poor, fear of not being loved, fear of being accepted, all that sort of stuff, right? Fear of change, etc. Now, fear is thoughts about the future and feelings in the present, right? And so what we will do with fear is actually create something that might happen in the future, and then we feel those emotions in the present, and it stops us because it's like the video that we're creating in our mind is so real to us, and we put feelings, we put sounds, we make it really bright, and then this thoughts about what potentially may happen, not reality, remember, actually stops us from moving towards the things that we want to do. Now, why do we do this then? It's got to have a use, and the use is often it's a protection mechanism, because we more often than not prefer to be where we are even if we're not happy than the unknown, which is, the potential of happy is there, but if we've been running a worst case scenario meta program for so goddamn long, what ends up happening is that how could that even be better? This is all I deserve, etc., etc., etc. And so fear, if you pull it apart as an acronym, it's like fear is false evidence appearing real, right? Whereas here's what fear is. This is what I truly believe fear to be. Fear is a beacon. Now, I'm not talking the innate fear of falling or being chased by a bear or whatever the case might be. I'm not saying that the bear is a beacon. I'm saying the fear that we have in our interior world, right? The primary color of the amateur's interior world, that fear is actually a beacon. And the beacon is telling you what to move towards, not what to move away from. But the issue is that we have told ourselves that fear is bad, and that if we feel fear, then we should move away from it because that way we'll save ourselves. And it's probably true. But the problem is that when that was given to us biologically, we didn't have the same moral standards. We didn't have the same world that we live in today. In the world that we live in today, you want to move towards something because something's calling you and pulling from you. And biologically, we'll have this fear arise, this emotion, this energy in motion arise. And then we go, oh, I shouldn't do that because that sounds like it's unsafe. It's like any fucking thing worth doing is going to have risk. Everything. You know what the biggest risk is not moving towards the shit you want to do, is living the life of it, is staying exactly where you are to play it safe. Because when you play it safe, over time you watch other people break out and do the things they want to do. Maybe the thing they're doing is not what you want to do, but the fact that they've broken out and did the things that they want to do, that's how you build resentment, and that's how you build this sort of like jealousy and just this callous bitterness over time. And so it's so crucial that you make a distinction of what fear actually means to you. And to me, fear is a beacon. It doesn't mean that every single time I feel it, I'm like, oh, let's move towards that. Off we go. It's like, no, dude, you're distracting yourself. What is that distraction telling you? Well, that's something there that I want to do, but I'm afraid of what's going to happen. It's like, well, trust yourself, because that's the other thing with fear, is that when you have this fear of the future, and you're not moving towards it, what that's telling you is that you don't trust yourself to deal with reality and learn the lessons to move through the process as we go through. The problem is that for your true success, there is no definitive steps. You go, oh, here's my perfect plan. It's like, great, you're going to fucking be really upset about how this unfolds then, because nothing will work perfectly. And when we understand that, when we give ourselves permission to just take the first step towards that fear, you'd be so surprised about, even if you do leave some people behind, they don't support you. You do not need their support. The thing is that they're a reflection of you. You're not supporting you. So if you're there and you go, oh, but these people don't support me, it doesn't fucking matter. It's not their job to support you. It's not their life. It's not their muse. It's not their calling. It's yours. So take the step towards it. Move towards your fear. Step out of being amateur, because that amateur fear freezes you. And if that's you, the only way to move out of that is to unfreeze yourself, give yourself permission to be able to trust yourself as reality rises, and move towards the thing that's pulling you, right? This is the whole conversation around the answer to the calling within you. I don't know what that is. Only you know what that is. And you probably don't know what that finishes, what that looks like in 10 years, but you know that something's pulling you somewhere. Trust yourself, back yourself. You cannot lean into your potential staying where you are and moving away from fear. It has to be. Freedom is on the other side of your fears. Team, I'm out. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. As I've mentioned before, I do have a book that I have coming out, and I'm currently on a website called Publishizer, which is kind of like a Kickstarter for authors. And I'm trying to get to 250 pre-sales so that I can get the best access to publishers around the world. I'm at about 180. It would mean the world to me if you could help me out and jump on and help me purchase it. Don't help me purchase a book. Purchase a book to help me get out in front of publishers. You should be able to see it in my comments. It's also on my Facebook feed and in the Mood Prep Online group, which also I think you should jump in the Mood Prep Online group, because in a couple of days, that's changing as of July the 1st. It's $7 a month, but there's a whole heap of resources that are going in there as well, which I'm really excited about, and I'll release that soon enough. Otherwise, jump on Facebook, Mood Prep Online. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with a friend that you think would also enjoy it. Team, that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.